I recently ran into a video I felt like it was right up our alley as to the subject matter that we discuss on this channel, which is people that retire abroad or live abroad and didn't expect something, and then perhaps the dream loses its shine and its lackluster, and they're considering coming home. Unfortunately, they can't afford to come home for a variety of reasons. So I would like to address that. Specifically, there's a number of videos like that, but the one that grabbed me was, it's Paul in the Philippines, Old Dog New Tricks. Because there's one thing that really stood out to me about what was said in the video, and it is that he suspects that a lot of the other, if not all of the other expat friends that are there in the Philippines long term with him there also feel the same way. By the way, this video is not about the Philippines. This video could be any number of countries where people move to where it's cheaper. It could be Ecuador, Colombia. People go to Colombia. It could be the Philippines, Southeast Asia, anywhere, even cheap countries in Europe. Anywhere where the perception is you can live a lot cheaper in a lot of these countries. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a pick on Paul video. This is more like a Paul put out a message and an invitation to discuss this, and instead of doing it in the comments, I'm going to do a video, and I'm just treating it like Paul and I are sitting down drinking some tea and just chit-chatting as friends. So it's more of a collaboration than anything else. And one of the things that's always said is, the numbers, you've heard this, the numbers just don't add up in America. And so the premise is that, yeah, here in the Philippines, look, I've got a $2,200 Social Security check. Plus I got, a side hustle. I got this YouTube thing. So I can save money here. I can live cheaper here, and I actually have money left over at the end of the month. The flavor of the video is that I'd love to go home, but I can't because of these reasons. And at the end of the day, I'm 70 years old. We're in our mid 60s, and we did it. We actually did it. We came back with the same. We have a very similar story to this because we came back to America with nothing. I mean, we had no house to come to, we had no car to come to, we had no job to come to, and we didn't win the lottery. So, no friends, no connections, and so we're in a similar boat. And so we did it, but we did it, and that's why I think I have something to offer here. And so, the numbers don't add up. Well, when the numbers don't add up, they're always comparing it to $1,500 rent. Why do you have to be paying rent? I mean, I understand that people worked at a job all their lives and then they're retired and they have their retirement in their 60s, and all along maybe they owned a house, maybe they didn't, maybe they paid high rent because they had high salaries and they could afford it, and then when they retired, their income went lower, and so they decided that, well, I'm out of here, I'm going abroad. And again, on the surface, that seems to make a lot of sense, and it does work for a while. And a lot of people just that want to come back are always being compared to, why are we always going to the lowest, I call it the lowest common denominator, because we're always having to compare to something that isn't the only option. Why is that the only option, paying $1,500 in rent? We don't pay $1,500 in rent. We don't pay $2,000 in rent. We don't pay $1,000 in rent. We don't pay $500 in rent. The way to hack this rent thing is to own property. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, it's just too expensive. The math doesn't add up. You can't buy property. Oh, property's hundreds of thousands of dollars in the U.S. The way to hack this thing is to buy cheap fixer property. We've done it. That's what we did. We bought this fixer, live in a fixer. Yes, I know you're 70 years old, but this is another thing. We're in our mid-60s. We're doing it. And so if we can do it, we feel like anybody else can do it. And the other thing was, the U.S. is not walkable, so I'm going to have a car. You know how expensive that is. With the mandatory insurance, I'm going to have to just have liability. Well, we did that. It turns out that there actually are walkable cities in America. It's just that they're not advertised. And we stumbled onto a walkable city because they're mostly small towns. They're small towns in areas out of the way The thing about small towns in America, before that turns you off, is this. Small town America is not like small town abroad. Small town abroad, remember, we did this for 13 years. We were in a city, we were in a smaller town. When you go outside of the city, and when you're abroad, you just fell off the side of the earth. You just fell off the earth. Okay, I mean, there's nothing out there. But in America, it's commercially built up, and you can be in a small town and be just a few minutes away from all the big box stores, the chain restaurants, and everything you want. And that's the case here. And I'm not promoting this particular place. I have friends that have since passed away that were in other small towns in different states that also found this a similar lifestyle, where they were in a small town and they were pretty close to everything, and they didn't really need a car. They just used it occasionally. And we mostly use the car in the beginning, the first year or two, when you're fixing your fixer to haul everything. But after that, once your house is fixed, we find that we actually only drive the car about once a month to once every 2 months. So we don't even drive it. So I mean, our car expense is almost negligible. It's practically almost nothing, because it's been 2 months since I put any gas in it. And, so he's saying, well, I wouldn't have a job, I wouldn't have a property, I wouldn't have a car. So we talked about the property, we talked about the car. You don't have to get super old beaters. It's okay to put a little bit of effort into having a life that's worth living. So you spend a couple hours a day looking for a deal on a car, and instead of spending $7,000 on a used car, you find one for $2,000. You find a car that, like a Toyota or something, a 20-year-old Toyota that maybe has a few dings in it. It's okay. It's going to be good on gas. It's going to last, a long time. I've always had old Datsuns and Toyotas all my life, and they've always lasted me almost forever. And so once you hack the property, now you don't have any rent, you don't have a mortgage. Being out of debt is 100% part of the deal. So the picture is that, do I really want to spend my remaining years struggling in the USA, where I'm not really accepted here in the Philippines either, so I'm kind of in limbo? That's the story. And the thing is, if you're thinking about returning to the US, obviously there are motivators there and pain points that are pushing you to think about that. And so I would say that if you are one that has those pain points and those pressure points, then that in and of itself is a good reason to find solutions to your challenges. We all have challenges. There are challenges no matter what we choose in life. All options have pros and cons, and there are ways to mitigate the cons of being in the U.S., and that includes living on on a small income. So I see in the comments and other videos, which I'll make more videos about later, I see people that are polar opposites and on the extremes. I mean, I saw a comment where a lady says she spends $600 a week on groceries. This is just unbelievable. You cannot believe what people, it's not believable to me. And to me, they're just trolls that for one reason or another are motivated to just put misinformation out there. Lady saying she spends $600 a week on groceries in the USA, but over here abroad, why, I'm just in fairy tale land, and I'm in Disneyland all day, and you can get a $60,000 house in France. Well, I wouldn't want to live in France, no thanks. You can get $60,000 houses here. So anyway, different subject. I'd want to stay focused here, and I just think it's not gloom and doom as people make it sound, and especially Paul in this video makes it sound. I think that there are solutions even to the pressure points that you mentioned. And clearly you have pain points that are pushing you to even consider it, unless it's all just a disingenuous video to get views. And hopefully it's not. This is right up our alley. This is what we talk about all the time. We have been there, done that. We are doing it. And we are actually living in the U.S. Oh, I was going to say, in contrast to the lady that said she was spending $600 a week on groceries, another fellow chimed in the comments of this other video and said, well, I own my own property. I don't have any debt. I've not been in debt. I've been living here for years, and I live on $1,400 a month. My retirement's $2,800, so I have money left over. So there you go. There's a guy in the States doing the same thing as the guy in the Philippines, and it all comes down to the free and clear property. And that's it. So hey, Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for coming to the video, and have a wonderful day.